Saturday evening, a little bit later start than usual. I managed to not completely screw up my sleep schedule, but getting out a little bit later than I would like, a little bit later than ideal. Not too bad though. It's about 6 o'clock. Already dark out there though. So let's go. The Aria. Should be plenty of options here for games tonight on a Saturday night. Not even sure what we're gonna play. So I just grabbed a seat in a 2-5 game for now. Just gonna kind of see what other games are running and see how they look. There's a lot of options. There's 5-10, there's 1-2-5 PLO, there's 2-5-10 PLO, and of course all the 2-5 games. So I'm just gonna see how my game is, see how the other ones look, and who knows where we'll end up. But 2-5 for now, 1,000 max, in for 1,000. Look who's graced us with his presence. It's the one and only.
Well, hey guys.
Nick DeVella.
And we got a hand to play. I'm gonna check this out. Pouring, that's part of the bet. It has to be Brad.
Hey look, it's raining!
Oh, all over the cashew nut. All right. Woo! 1,000 bucks, and here's the 1,000. Show the 1,000. Oh, only in Vegas, baby. I gotta go back to play my game.
This guy's a professional.
See you guys.
Professional poker player. So we're 6 or 7 handed here. I open up King Jack for 20 from early position. Definitely the bottom of my range from early position, and you could certainly consider folding the offsuit Broadway type hands from early position. But I figured since we're a little bit short-handed, doesn't seem too bad of an open. There was a player who just sat down maybe 3 or 4 hands ago. He had a fistful of purple chips, bought in for the max, had a sport coat on, and he calls to my left. He had played every hand that he was dealt so far. So we're heads up to a flop of King Jack 9. Pretty good flop top 2 pair. I decided to bet close to pot size. Lots of pairs plus straight draws can continue here. Top pair, might as well charge them the max. So I bet 35, and he calls rather quickly. Turn is mostly a brick. 7 of diamonds brings a backdoor flush draw. I bet 75 on the turn. I think I could have bet a little bit more, mainly for the same reasons as what I bet on the flop. Just charge the max, especially versus the described player type. A lot of people just aren't folding pairs plus draws, or pairs or draws. People don't like folding. Me included, of course, but that's beside the point. So I think I could have bet a little bit more, but he starts saying something about, maybe I should raise here, this or that. It's such an obvious tell, and it's not a false tell. He either doesn't want me to bet on the river, or he has some sort of a draw, maybe both. But he's trying to get me to slow down. He's trying to convey strength that he doesn't have. At least that's my read. River is another blank. River is an offsuit 4. You can go one of two ways here with the information that you have from that verbal tell. You could just bomb away, make your hand look like a bluff, and hope that he hero calls with some sort of a king or some sort of a jack. Hope that he perceives your hand as a bluff. Or you can bet very small, try and get a call from one of those middling pairs, or even try and induce. It's rather unlikely on this run out, but I've been more surprised. So I went with the latter option. I made a tiny bet into this pot. I bet $50. I know he doesn't have much of a hand at this point. Just trying to either get a crying call or get him to spaz out, get him to put in a raise. Unfortunately, he doesn't go for it. He folds immediately, snap fold, take it down. So in this hand, I put the straddle on. I know there's a lot of people that are very anti-straddle. They say it affects your win rate, it's always negative EV, this and that, blah, blah, blah. There's a couple instances where I think putting the straddle on is more than okay. One is if there's an action player who is straddling and you want to keep the environment fun. The other instance is if a similar type player is in one of the blinds and you will have position on that player. In this case, both of those things are true. There was a player who was straddling at will and that person happened to be in the small blind in this hand. So anyway, I straddle. The first player to act limps. Both the blinds call, and I look down at ace queen of hearts. Good hand to find in the straddle. I decide to raise it up to 60. Everybody calls. Pot is about $240. The flop comes queen 7-6, 2 diamonds and 1 heart. Very favorable flop for us. Both of the blinds check. I bet slightly over half pot. That's good enough to get the job done. Everyone folds. We take it down. And hey, if you feel like straddling, you want to straddle away. You don't need to peer pressure anyone else to straddle. Straddle on your own. If you feel like straddling, get it in there. Straddling is fun. What other reason do you need? So in this hand, the aforementioned player is under the gun and he raises to 20. The player on his left calls, and the player in the cutoff, they've had a little bit of history together. Makes it 40. He's been 3-betting the initial raiser a couple times recently. He seems to have figured out that he wants to play some pots with this guy. So he makes it 40. We look down at ace king on the button. I think you could actually make a case for flatting here. If I flat the 40, it's definitely going multi-way. I don't know how ideal that is. If it was suited, I think you could maybe make a better case for flatting, but I don't know if it's best to play a 5-way pot here with ace king offsuit. So I decided to put in the 4-bet. I make it 110. It folds back around to the cutoff, and he calls. The flop is pretty decent. Flop is king, queen, queen, and the cutoff checks. If I think about the typical hands that the cutoff would 3-bet and then call a 4-bet with, I think he's gonna have a lot of queens in that kind of a range. He'll have some kings, not too many I wouldn't think. Ace queen is definitely a possibility. I don't know if king jack would be much of a possibility. King jack, king 10. Lots of pairs, jacks, 10s, maybe some ace jack, ace 10 type hands. I think that's probably going to define most of his range. Maybe you could go a little smaller with the pairs, 9s, maybe 8s. Again, it's always tough to say what an opponent in a live poker game, what their range is exactly. But I decided to check back, mostly for pot control reasons. I feel like it could be one of those way ahead, way behind situations. So I check back. The turn brings a 10 with the flush draw. This time the cutoff leads out. He bets 175. Pretty healthy bet size. Not really loving the situation at this point. 10s have obviously got there and are way ahead. Any queen is good. There's a couple straights available. Again, it feels like it's probably one of those way ahead, way behind type situations. I'm not loving the situation much, because I feel like there's plenty of hands that could be ahead of us, and with that bet size, I feel like if he was behind, it might be a little bit smaller. If it was kind of like a probing type bet, if he was trying to see what's going on, or who knows, something along those lines, maybe he might bet a little bit smaller. But it just feels a little bit too weak to fold at this point. Top pair, top kicker with a straight draw. Maybe our hand is slightly under repped. Not much though. I decided to call once and see what happens on the river. The river brings a 7 of diamonds. Backdoor flush comes in, which means we can beat even less if he was semi-bluffing with a flush draw on the turn. He thinks about betting briefly, and then he decides to check. I don't know how much value there is in betting here. I don't even know if King Jack would call at this point, so I just decided to check back. Cutoff rolls over the Ace Jack for the turn straight. Flop did turn out to be one of those way ahead, way behind situations. In hindsight, I guess we would have won the pot if we had bet the flop, but I'm not sure if that's the right way to be thinking about it or not. We could have put a small bet in on the flop, perhaps, but oh well. By the way, the Cutoff was a well-known comedian. Brad, if this comedy thing doesn't work out for you, there's always poker, I guess. Thanks. Not a ton of action in today's 2-5 game, but we did book a win, so can't complain about that. I think about 325 was the number. I figured since we were in the neighborhood here, we'd walk right over to one of my all-time favorite bars in the entire city. It doesn't get much more sharp than this place, I'll tell you that. Yo, how many elevators have you been in where there's been seating? Gotta take advantage of the seating in the elevator. How's this for a view? Hey, it might not be the cheapest glass of wine in town, but it does come with free snacks. So this is the Mandarin bar at the Mandarin Oriental. As I said, one of my favorite spots in the whole city. Definitely one of my favorite spots on the Strip. The view speaks for itself. Great cocktails, really good wine. Only thing that would make this place better if it was open 24 hours. Can't have it all, I guess. Okay, if the prices came down a smidge, that'd be good too. But can't come here all the time as a result of that. Only when things are going well. I must look like such a tourist here with all my cameras and backpack and all that stuff. 2 cameras going at once. One to talk to you, and the other one to take this time lapse right here. The best thing that Las Vegas has to offer is just the sheer number of entertainment options compared to the cost of living here. We have world-class restaurants, world-class bars, nightclubs, shows, and a lot of stuff that's open 24 hours. And even if you like outdoorsy stuff, we have tons of hiking. We have snowboarding that's maybe 45 minutes away at Mount Charleston. To find something similar to that sheer volume of entertainment options, you kind of have to go to a city like New York City or Los Angeles or San Francisco or Miami. All of these places, when you look at the cost of living at those places, way higher than Las Vegas. Cost of living here in Las Vegas, super reasonable. Everything is relative, of course. If you move here from Los Angeles, everything is cheap. If you're moving here from maybe the Midwest, then not super cheap. It's easy to move here from a place like Los Angeles. It's tough to move from here to a place like Los Angeles. It's hard to go back in that direction. One last thing, I think it's time for another Q&A. Let's do another questions and answers session, open format, anything goes. Vegas, poker, blogging, relationships, money, finance, politics, anything. Fire away. Looking forward to it.